Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th, the remake. And this movie came out in 2009, and it's one of those Michael Bay produced horror movies, or slasher movies, or whatever you want to go by. And I thought this movie was pretty bad. I didn't really take away much, but I'm not super upset that I watched it. And what I mean by that is, I kind of understand what Friday the 13th is, and the reason why I started with the remake and not the original is because I'm saving the original 8 for October when I review horror movies. And that's one of the things that I would like to do. And for this one, I've seen it before, and I kind of just wanted to revisit it just to see how it held up, and not very well, unfortunately, but knowing what Friday the 13th is, I had a bit of a different experience than I did the first time. The first time I watched it, I was like, that was kind of bad. And rewatching it, there were tiny things that I could understand as to why they would make that kind of choice. But unfortunately, overall, it's just not a good movie. And to talk about positives, I would say that some of the kills in this are pretty fun. It's nice and bloody and gory, and it's more realistic, and I guess that I'll talk about that, but I'm just saying that as a thing for now. And some of these kills, when they happened, I was laughing out loud, and I was having quite a bit of fun when that happened, and they're pretty over the top, pretty goofy, and very elaborate. I think that's the right word. And what I mean is when there's a character at the beginning of the movie where, well, she dies because it's the opening scene, and that's what you do at the beginning of every horror movie, is that the opening scene is just to show the killer and show what they're capable of and just go from there. And this is one of those movies where it does that, and Jason Voorhees, he goes into a tent and grabs a girl, and he has a machete, but he doesn't like snap her neck or stab her through the chest or in the head or whatever. He like takes her and puts her in a sleeping bag and ties her up, and she's upside down, and she's right above a fire, and the sleeping bag starts to catch on fire, and that's how he decides that's how he's going to kill her. And it was pretty over the top considering what it was, but it's Friday the 13th. It's supposed to be over the top, and that's what this series is known for. And it's also known for nudity, and there's plenty of nudity in this movie. Well, not like in every 5 seconds, but I can't remember the last time I watched a horror movie with this amount of nudity in it, even though it takes up about 10 minutes of the movie. That's how long it's in the movie for. But that's one thing that reminded me, oh, it's Friday the 13th. The series is known for it, so I'll just let it go by. Even though it kind of doesn't really make sense with the tone that they're going for, which is kind of weird, but trying to at least moderately make it reminiscent to the originals is what kind of kept me going throughout the movie. And I was kind of entertained. Ironically speaking, I was entertained just laughing at the movie every once in a while with some really gory kills, and that's about all of my positives. And what really upset me about this movie are the characters in this movie. They're so annoying, and I wanted all of them to die, and thankfully most of them died, and I'm sorry. I thought the music in this movie was really bland and did not help out the movie one bit. And I don't really remember the music in the originals, but I do remember the theme. Like, I'm not going to hum it to you, but I do remember it. And it was in, like, the opening logos, and you hear the... That's not the thing that I'm talking about that I'm not going to hum, but they kind of use that in the opening. They do use that in the logos, and when that Paramount logo comes on, it makes, like, I think they use like a slashing noise or something, like a knife effect, or I forget what they use, but I was like, oh, That's an interesting idea, kind of. And that was probably, outside of the actual movie itself, like, unironically speaking, that was probably my favorite part of the movie. There's also some really weird decisions made in this movie, story-wise. And first off, I want to go back to the, I guess, opening scene of this movie where the horror icon gets the first kill, and you know that how that's in every horror movie. But what I did not mention is that that scene goes on for 20 minutes. It feels so drawn out, and it's like, it gets exhausting after a while. And thankfully, when the kills do happen, it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of funny. Like how I already mentioned, and it's entertaining, but it goes on for so long, and it's so boring, and it's just a bunch of characters going out to get a bunch of weed, and I'm like, this is exactly like the 2003 version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where characters are just trying to smuggle weed, but in this movie they're trying to find weed and like make a big profit off of that or something. I don't even remember the plan, but I think that's basically what's going on. And without spoiling anything, one of the girls, there's an important character in that group of characters, and she doesn't really have much to her, and they do give her a little bit of screen time, and like, hey, you look like Jason's mother or something, and that's the character I'm talking about. And after that first 20 minutes, the plot goes down this other route, and it has the brother of that character looking for her, and he's just asking around, hey, have you seen my sister? And he has like papers that are like searching or missing person, and he's just going around left and right trying to find her, and eventually that leads him into Camp Crystal Lake, and I'm sure you can guess what happens after that. And there's like one character in that town who he asks if have you seen my sister? And she's like, she's probably dead. And she very clearly knows way more than she probably should. And it's like one of those characters, and I'm like, how do you, first off, how do you know this? And second off, even if you do know this, you're probably one of those characters who survived Jason Voorhees. And if that's the case, how's he not found you yet? Because, like, the rule is, like, if you survive from the killer, eventually he's going to find you and kill you. It doesn't make any sense if you try and think about it. But there's lots of really weird choices throughout this movie, and there's even a point where Jason Voorhees loses his mask because at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't start out with the hockey mask. He has like this bag, and you can like see through it because it has like eyes poked out, and that way you can see. And there's a character who like pulls off his mask, and it shows that he's really deformed. And I'm like, why did we need to see that? We don't need to see his actual face. You're kind of ruining the mystique, though, when you do that. It's pretty much exactly what they did in the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and it's like, why would you do that? It doesn't matter. And you do see Jason Voorhees' actual face more than once in this movie, which is kind of weird. And going back to the characters in this movie, one thing that really annoyed me was that not only were they really unsympathetic and there was like literally nothing to like about them, but they all talked like they were the same character. And that was very distracting, and I just don't understand how that happened. It's so annoying. And this movie does take itself fairly seriously, and I don't understand why you would do that, because the original Friday the 13th movies are really campy and fun, or like the ones that people remember, and this one takes itself so seriously, and you combine it with these deaths that are really goofy and over the top, and it just doesn't fit. And it's like two tones conflicting with each other, and you're trying to make a serious horror movie combining with a like trashy guilty pleasure-ish realm of horror movies that like delivers what you want. They're not good, but they're fun, and you just throw those elements into this movie and it doesn't work. I'm sorry. And this movie really desperately tries to scare you, and there's lots of jump scares which are really annoying, and it's just like dead silence, and then loud noise. That's when you're supposed to be startled, and there are some fake jump scares in this movie as well, and those are always fun. And by the end of the day, all this movie really set out to do was to make money, and it did. It grossed $92.7 million on a $19 million budget. And apparently, this specific Friday the 13th movie has kind of a cult following and is considered to be somewhat underrated, and I can kind of see that. There are moments that I do enjoy as a Friday the 13th movie, but I can't forget about most of this movie that is like really annoying and really boring. And by the end of the day, I wasn't really all that entertained by it. And one other thing, I didn't watch this movie like this physical release. This is still in the plastic wrapper. I haven't even opened it yet, and I watched it on Netflix because I didn't trust that it would be entertaining throughout, and I was right. It was not, so I watched it in 1.5 times speed, and it made it bearable for me. So that's the ideal watching experience of this movie for me if I'm ever going to watch this movie again. And it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen worse, but I've also seen better. So if you really want to see all of the Friday the 13th movies and you're a big fan of all of them and you love the tone and you love all of the kills and what the experience offers you, or you're just a completionist or something along the lines of what I said, then I would say you should probably check it out. But everyone else, skip this one. It's not a movie for you. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake, a 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake, and my social media links. They will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Red. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.